I was recently in one of our large national banks' big local head offices, and in the head office they had a coffee shop on the side. And I went to the coffee shop and ordered myself a cup of coffee, waiting for the person who I was meeting to arrive. And reached into my wallet, pulled out some cash to pay for the cup of coffee, and the gentleman serving me said, "Sorry, we don't take cash here. We only take cards or one of the other virtual forms of currency." And it just really struck me at that point that the irony of me being in a bank and a bank being the organization that refused to take cash was a real indication of the changes in the world that we're in today and the way that digitization is changing everything, including the way that we deal with money. Ross McGowan, the CEO of the Royal Bank of Scotland, recently said that their busiest branch is the 701 from Reading to London Paddington, where over 167,000 of our customers use our mobile banking app between 7 and 8 a.m. on their commute to work every day. The busiest banking branch of RBS is their mobile app while people are on their way through to work. One of the consequences of this shift is view if projected forward and think about some of the stuff that you see in science fiction. So I love science fiction. One of my favorite series would be the Star Trek series. And question to ask yourself is, have you ever seen anybody pull out a wallet or pull out cash to pay for something in Star Trek? Our future, our digital future, is one that is going to be increasingly cashless, and money will operate and function in a very different way to the way that we've normally experienced it. Recently, the Wall Street Journal identified 10 characteristics that they believe will define the bank of 2020. The first of these 10 characteristics was that they said that banks would revolve around the customer's choices. I think that's quite telling because right now so much of our banking revolves around the options that banks choose to make available to their customers. And the Wall Street Journal is saying that by 2020, that locus of control will have shifted to the customers. The second thing they pointed out was that the bank of the future will be operated on smartphones. So your phone will be the thing that will keep you abreast of all of your financial activity and everything that's happening in your financial world. It will do that on an instant and ongoing basis. As activity happens in your financial life, you'll be alerted immediately via your mobile phone of what has happened. The third thing they said is that Robo-Advisors will step in and will stop us from making poor financial decisions in real time. So if you're in the store and you're going to make an impulse buy of something expensive or something that you just hadn't planned or budgeted for, the Robo-Advisor on your mobile phone will prompt you with an awareness of what you're trading off in terms of your own financial security, your future financial security, your children's financial security in order to make that impulse buy. The fourth characteristic of the Bank of 2020 is that powerful algorithms will run at the back end of the bank and will manage and dictate and determine the behavior of the bank's data to identify external and internal security threats. So banks will become increasingly secure places. The fifth thing is that banks will realize that the key asset that they actually have is not the money sitting in the bank accounts, but the information that they have on their customers. So banks will become identity brokers. Think about how much your bank knows about you based on all of the information that they request from you in order to open an account. And once that happens, just the information that's available on your bank account gives reference to where and how you spend your money. Now, if banks are able to take that information and monetize and generate revenue out of that information in the digital world, that is far more valuable than the money that just sits in your account. The sixth characteristic is that banks will be replaced. So banks, as in the bank building, will be replaced by algorithms and by robots. So a lot of that physical infrastructure and intermediary service will be automated and will be done at the back end using computers. Bank accounts will become like your mobile phone number. So just as you retain your mobile number when you switch providers, the same thing will happen with your bank account. Right now, banks own the account and you just happen to deposit your money in it. And when you change and you pull your money out and you move to another bank, you have to leave that account behind, account number and all. and then go and open another account, which is effectively the property of the new bank that you just happen to deposit your money into. What will happen now is you will own the bank account, and banks will then provide a service which they associate with that bank account number, which will be yours. Your unique account that you'll be able to keep for life. Blockchain and other distributed ledger technology will run at the back end and will make all financial transactions far more secure, far more efficient, and far better recorded than ever before. The ninth criteria is that social trading will become widespread. So it's not just going to be about banks giving you money, but we'll be lending, trading, borrowing on our social networks. The people in your Facebook group and Facebook community will be the people who are most accessible for you to get money and loans, and in turn make investments and loan to. And so our social networks will not just be places where we trade information, but increasingly will become places where we trade money too. And then finally, much of what banks currently do and hold as a central part of their value proposition and their services will be decentralized and will begin to be offered by other institutions and other organizations. So banking services will now be able to be found with IT and technology providers, with mobile phone providers, potentially with retailers. And so what has exclusively been the domain of banks and financial services will shift and change in the bank of 2020. So what we see is this initial bit of weirdness of going and getting a cup of coffee at a bank and not having to pay cash for it, but having to use some sort of digital money, will expand and will continue to evolve. If we go back in history, it's interesting to note that the very first digital computer was made in 1946. It was called ENIAC. In 1950, so barely 4 years later, Diners Club came out with the first credit card. And so as we moved into the digital age, one of the first things that we shifted and changed was the way that we managed money. And the same trend will be true as we move forward. The digital world, our digital society, the digital evolution in which we are currently participating is going to change the way that we manage and engage and shift and work with money. The future of money is nothing like our past. It's digital, it's ones and zeros, and it's ultimately cashless.